job. Excellent. Well done. Well done.
Welcome.
Taking the Fruit Ninja new level.
Snail zombies from your backyard.
Life is a journey, and in this journey, we all want to do more, experience more, feel more, and live with no boundaries. And why shouldn't we? Sight System presents Sightseeing. Feel free to go anywhere. Reminder. Date at 9 p.m. Choose outfit.
Patrick. Patrick.
Oh. Hi. Hi, Daphne. How are you? Sorry.
It's okay.
You look great.
Thank you. Love your jacket.
Thanks. It's a sports jacket, so.
Well, stop there. You can continue watching the movie, but since we have limited time. Basically, he used something in his, like a contact lens that augment everything and turn everything into a game in his life. And that's supposed to be more engaging for him. In a way, let's see first, what is it, the game? I think game is quite a universal part of human experience. We have a lot of games in almost in every culture. And I think, I've looked it up on the internet, apparently the oldest game is 2100 BC. That's what the game is. And I actually give it a go and play it online. Quite interesting. So that's a game. It's an example of a game. There's too many examples of a game that I'm sure everybody have played some sort of a game before. While gaming itself is more on the activity of playing the game itself. That's sort of definition in a very simple term. So when we ask why do people play games, it's fun creation. It's fun. The emotion of fun is the trigger. It gives people enjoyment. And also it fulfills basic human needs, such as accomplishment and able to develop self in one way or the other. So primarily when we use game in education, probably it's about engagement. I don't think it's the only reason. There's so many other reasons that we can explore, and we're probably going to explore it today. But it's one of them probably is engagement, the strongest factors. And because when we as educators, we see our students playing game and how much they are so engaged in it, we wish such engagement is happening in our class, in our lessons, in our learning. We want to take that engagement into our own learning. Now, there's a question there. Have you ever played a game? You can respond there if you can. Any game. I'll answer mine's over there. Yes, I guess everybody except Fiona and Gina said yes. Or not? No answer yet, 17. Okay. But majority of us did play some sort of game in our life. How about, have you ever played a computer game? notebook, tablet, anything on web? Yes, sure. Most of us did play some sort of computer games. So what do you think when you're playing computer game? Why? Pastime on buses. Okay. I have to do anything else. Fun? Do you feel enjoying in playing, or do you feel frustrated? Challenge? Yeah. And those are strong emotions. Anybody feel actually frustrated when they're playing game? Yes, but you still play anyway. Why? You're trying to beat yourself, or somebody else. Yes. Yeah. There's one concept called social pressure. That's why they try to connect your Facebook sometimes or anything profile, so you can see your friends. It's actually make you to compete more and play more. It's one of the reasons as well. So in general, did you enjoy playing games? Or not sure? Yeah, overwhelmingly say yes. Okay. So when we look there's a continuum in game and gaming in learning. There's an article that we shared earlier before in the conversation in Yammer. If anybody see that, it's a continuum between edutainment and a serious game. Edutainment is more about just the emotion side. The serious game is more on the learning, although it still touches on the emotion side because that's what the element of game is. But just for the sake of discussion, maybe I'll just easily simplify this by splitting it in three categories. Let's say game as just a peripheral, just an addition of things. This is when or a product and a concept, or the play itself as a product or as a concept. We'll look into it one by one and just give one example each. As a peripheral, it's not really a game. It's when you actually take a game kind of element or mechanics, for example, a leaderboard or badges. Now that I think soon or already our Fuse is able to use badges, and put the element of games like competitions or goal, earning points, badges and such into the learning activity itself. This is what I would call peripheral, because when you finish this activity, you get earn points or earn badges. You finish a series of activity, then you earn certain points. So the learning and the game is actually two separate parts, I think, because the mechanic of game is simply added to the learning itself. And then thus you get points out of it. And hopefully students get engaged and then try to earn more points. It's not bad, but it is. It is one way of using the game. Another way of using the game as a product, what I call the game as a product. Basically, the game itself is actually introduced or use a certain concept or skill. And for students in order to play that game, they must acquire the skill. And that skill is what they're actually learning about. So they're learning to play the game. At the same time, they're learning a concept or a context. An example is an app, Cargo Boats. There's so many other examples, but it's learning about programming logic, subroutine, recursive, etc. You can see here, you can put the commands and then execute it, and then see if you can tell the robot to arrange the box in a certain way. And then you can add further subroutines, concept, conditions as well in there. So when the students are learning to play this game, they're actually learning about programming, because the mechanics of the game is what the content of their learning itself. So yeah, they build the game around the learning itself in a short term. And the other thing is about the game as a concept, the playing itself. It is actually that triggers learning. Oh, sorry there for that. But there's a recent article. They are using Star Wars, the Old Republics. If you play such game, it's an online, massive multiplayer game. Everybody create their own avatar, take a role. If you know about Star Wars, you either choose the good guys or the baddies, the Republic or the Separatists, I think what they call it. And then you pick a role within those sides, whether you are a Jedi or you are a trooper, for example, whatever. And then you pick a class within that group as well. And then every role play different things. One is a peacekeeper, one is about negotiating, one is about something. So, and as you go through the game, it's actually really playing a game, just playing a game. But there's a rich environment to explore. There's about politics, there's about sides of different sides, each have conflicting interests, and based on what your skill and ability, then you play different role in that games. Now, in a way, this is being used apparently to learn about socio-political, explore the socio-political aspect of life. Although it's not real life, obviously, it's not real country or nations, but it gives enough richness to explore this and see how what students can reflect on it. So when students play a game, they are playing games. It's a game. But out of this playing of a game, then they can start thinking, oh, what if you have different conflicts? Look at it from different sides. Each have their own narrative, looking at, like, almost like a case study, because in one of a unit that I'm working on, we're trying to build a case study where you build different scenario from different point of view. But this happens to be embodied within a game. So whether is it effective or not, that's a different issue. We'll discuss about it, but this is one way of using the game. So what do you think? Which of them is beneficial from or interesting to be used in your unit? Probably, if you can type in a couple of and why maybe. Or you can speak up in the forum as well. It's a very brief overview of the different types of the way game used. Do you see any value in the unit you are working on, or is he typing? Those who are not in Nearpad can speak up. Or a question, or maybe disagree on something. It's okay. As I said, I'm not an expert as well, but I'm exploring this.
I think, Andreas, you can definitely start with writing down mechanics to the unit, just as a starting step.
Yes.
And then look at it and then develop it to the game.
How do you want to use it, for example?
Like,
For using game mechanics, what sort of mechanics do you think?
records, badges, profiles.
Do you think that is enough to attract students to actually do things? Because sometimes when students, I'll show a framework later on, there's a couple of things that become fun for students to play. If we are simply drop a leaderboard, it's only one aspect of it. Yeah.
I think the key is to do something really simple and do it well.
Mm.
If you try and add too many game mechanics, then it's not really effective.
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
And I think where gaming works out quite well is they do a lot of that planning, but it is that progression of some sort, whether it's levels or skills or experience.
But like an example of the game as a concept, as a playing, they don't actually have a leveling system. They simply provide rich environment for students to explore. And it is very unstructured, very messy, but it allows the student to actually play, basically, play around, and then from that they reflect back what then learning coming from that reflection actually. So it's also another side of gaming as well. Maybe I'll show this one. So I think some of the challenges, not the only one, but gaming as a peripheral, when you design, you need to design a meaningful motivator, probably, because otherwise there's a lot of Because there's a lot of games out there that is really not motivating to you to play anyway. So to just take a mechanics inside a learning might not enough to motivate students. Otherwise, it's just an added something. Yes, they can quantify their progress, isn't it? That's what badges and leaderboard is. They earn points as they move forward. They quantify their progress, but it might not be a strong motivator, but depends on how we use. And game as a product, finding the right games, or as a concept, finding the right play. About gamification, it's taking that thing, that fun part, what make a game, that what make a game engaging, and then trying to put it in a learning context. There's a lot of framework there. I'll show you one. There's about the drive of the play and the elements or the mechanics that we have just mentioned about, but it's all about strong emotions. So this is about actually, I think, challenging. How do we make strong emotions in learning? Because otherwise, it's still just learning. I will look around about different framing, and this is, I think, quite interesting. This is not for learning specific. It's gamification for about anything. They are about meaning, accomplishment, empowerment, ownership, social influence, scarcity, predictability, and avoidance. This is what he conceptualized as a drive for people to play game. Some games, if you mention about leaderboards and badges, there's accomplishment up there on the top left. There's a lot of different ways he explained this, but it's basically to give you progress on one quest at a time and earn points or earn badges, and then they collect it. That's one point. Social influence is when you actually then compare with your peers, and then you can see, oh, my peers is doing much better than I am, or I'm in certain percentile in my class or something. Then if they have, if the peers is significant enough for them, then they want to compete with the peers, and that become, I don't want to be left behind. Or if I do something, I'll earn more points, and then I become more acknowledged within the peers, maybe. So there's a social component there. Ownership, like you said, when you create a profile, you try to create an ownership. But the ownership have to really own it, not just something that we just give it to them, and then the profile itself, it is a profile page, but doesn't mean that they necessarily own it. That's why in Facebook, for example, Facebook can be seen as a game as well. It's a game mechanics because they allow you to own your page. You get customized, it's yours. And in some other application, it knows you better, and then it really becomes something that's you own. You can project yourself as well as it's beneficial for you. Now, I don't know how they can use that in learning. I don't know, this is a discussion. Time is finished up. So we'll put up something on the Yammer and hopefully continue the discussion. Apparently 25 minutes is shorter than I thought. So this is definitely something that we can explore each other. And again, we've just been talking game as a product. There's also game as a play itself. So there's a lot of aspect of gaming that we think is still yet to be discovered by us. Thank you.